The wind howled like a wounded animal as Olivia tightened her grip on the steering wheel. The snowstorm had come out of nowhere, reducing visibility to mere feet. Her knuckles turned white as she leaned forward, trying to see past the frantic wipers swishing across her windshield. The clock on the dashboard blinked 7:45 p.m. She was late. Jason and Ella would be waiting, probably worried. Her husband always fretted when she had to drive in bad weather, and Ella, their 6-year-old, would be asking every 5 minutes when Mommy would get home. Almost there, Olivia whispered to herself, her breath fogging up the inside of the glass despite the heater blasting at full force. The road was deserted, and the eerie glow of her headlights reflected off the icy surface, making it look like a shimmering, treacherous mirror. Black ice. She'd heard the warnings on the radio. Avoid driving if possible, the announcer had cautioned. But what choice did she have? She'd promised Ella she'd be back in time to read her favorite bedtime story, and Olivia never broke her promises. The tires skidded slightly as she rounded a bend, her heart lurching into her throat. "Easy," she murmured, easing off the accelerator. The car steadied, and she exhaled a shaky breath. Suddenly, her phone buzzed on the passenger seat. Reflexively, her eyes darted to it. Jason's name lit up the screen. Before she could reach for it, the back tires lost their grip, and the car spun violently. Time seemed to slow. The world outside the windows blurred into a whirlwind of white as the car did a full 360. Olivia screamed, yanking the wheel to no avail. The sound of crunching metal and shattering glass filled her ears as the vehicle slammed sideways into a tree. Then silence. When Olivia's eyes fluttered open, the world was tilted. Her head throbbed, and a trickle of blood ran down her temple. She tried to move, but her body protested with sharp jolts of pain. The car's interior was a chaotic mess of broken glass and bent metal. The cold seeped in through the shattered window, biting at her exposed skin. She could hear the faint hum of the wind outside and the creaking of the tree against the car. Panic clawed at her chest. She needed to get out. She needed to get home. With trembling hands, Olivia fumbled for her phone. It wasn't on the passenger seat anymore. She twisted, groaning at the pain in her ribs, and spotted it wedged between the door and the seat. Stretching as far as her aching body allowed, she managed to grab it. The screen was cracked, but it lit up. No service. "Come on," she muttered, her breath fogging the air. She tried dialing 911 anyway, but the call wouldn't go through. Tears stung her eyes as she dropped the phone onto her lap. She glanced out the window. The tree she'd hit was massive, its trunk thick and gnarled. Beyond it, the woods loomed dark and menacing. There wasn't a single light or sign of civilization in sight. "Think, Olivia," she whispered, forcing herself to stay calm. Her fingers fumbled with the seatbelt, which was jammed. Panic rose again as she yanked at it, her breathing quickening. A faint noise caught her attention. At first, she thought it was the wind, but then she realized it was a voice. Distant and faint, but unmistakable. "Hello?" "Help," she screamed, her voice hoarse. She banged on the car door with her fist, hoping whoever it was could hear her. The voice grew louder. It was a man's voice, calling out. Relief flooded her chest as a figure appeared through the snow, a flashlight beam cutting through the dark. "Hang on," the man shouted, rushing to her window. He was bundled in a thick coat, his face obscured by a scarf and hat. "Are you hurt?" "I think so," Olivia managed. "My ribs and my head—" "We'll get you out," he said firmly. He tried the door, but it wouldn't budge. "Stay with me. I'm going to get some help." "Wait, please don't leave me." Fear gripped her. What if he didn't come back? He hesitated, then nodded. "Okay, let me try something." He disappeared for a moment and returned with a crowbar. After what felt like an eternity of grunting and prying, the door creaked open. The cold air hit her like a wall as he reached in. "Can you move?" "I'll try." Olivia winced as she shifted, biting back a scream. With his help, she managed to slide out of the car and onto the icy ground. "You're lucky," the man said as he helped her to her feet. It could have been a lot worse. Before Olivia could respond, headlights appeared in the distance. She waved frantically, and a truck skidded to a halt. The driver, a middle-aged man in a thick jacket, jumped out. "What happened here?" he asked, rushing over. The man who had helped Olivia explained quickly. "She's hurt. I got her out of the car, but she needs to get to a hospital." The truck driver nodded. "Get her in. I'll take you both into town." The three of them worked together to get Olivia into the back of the truck. As they drove through the storm, Olivia's head swam with pain and exhaustion, but she managed to catch fragments of the conversation between the two men. The man who had saved her seemed reluctant to share details about himself, his answers vague and evasive. The truck driver's eyes narrowed slightly, but he didn't press further. When they reached the small-town hospital, Olivia was rushed inside. Hours later, as the adrenaline wore off, she found herself lying in a hospital bed. Jason sat beside her, holding her hand tightly, his face pale with worry. "You scared me," he said, his voice thick with emotion. Ella was so worried. "I'm okay," Olivia whispered, tears filling her eyes. "I just wanted to get home to you both." Jason nodded, brushing her hair back gently. "You will. Once the doctors say you're ready, we'll take you home." But as Olivia rested, she couldn't shake the memory of her rescuer. When she asked Jason about him, Jason shook his head. "He left after he got you here. Didn't even give a name." Later that night, as Olivia prepared to sleep, a nurse came in with a small folded piece of paper. "Someone left this for you," the nurse said. With trembling hands, Olivia unfolded the note. Scrawled in hasty handwriting were the words, "You were never meant to crash. Watch who you trust." Her heart raced. Who was this man? And what did he mean? Olivia clutched the note tightly, a sense of unease settling over her. This wasn't over. Not yet.